All right, if you're a busy business owner or you're somebody who's business minded and you've wanted to start on YouTube forever, you need to steal this easy YouTube strategy to blow up your business. And this is a strategy that did not work even just a year ago, but it's starting to work incredibly well right now. And it works specifically for businesses that want to be on YouTube. It also doesn't take that much time. We actually have people spending 0 hours a week doing this if you're willing to have somebody else record for you. Or if you want to record yourself, you can get it down to as little as 2 hours a month. It doesn't require you to have a bunch of tech and be some kind of film genius that has, different lenses and all kinds of different cameras. And it doesn't require a ton of skill to pull it off either. You don't need to be really good at video editing or really good at creative direction or anything like that. So let's get into exactly how this works. And we're going to start off with strategy number 1, which is kind of the sort of baseline and the foundation for why this works. And that is that YouTube is a trust machine. Okay, so if you're a business owner, you probably know right now that we are in a trust recession, right? Trust is at an all-time low. Consumers are more skeptical than ever. Just as an example, sometimes when I do live streams, people will ask me if I'm an AI. People just assume that everything is a scam and they assume that I'm an AI. I'm not even a real person. Now, just to show you that this works when it comes to being a trust machine, we have a client who's in a very competitive niche, right? This is a very competitive niche that's low trust, and they are number 1 in their niche. They make over $50,000 a month just in AdSense alone, and they're a multi-8-figure business in a super competitive niche, and they're getting over 7 million views a month. So for many reasons, trust is at an all-time low. And so people really do need to know, like, and trust you. They need to get to know your brand before they decide to make a buying decision with you. And luckily, YouTube is a trust machine. Now, this works whether or not you're actually generating your leads, actually generating the traffic from YouTube, or you have other marketing strategies to generate the traffic and generate leads, such as Facebook ads or just Google ads, ads in general, cold outreach, word of mouth, et cetera, et cetera. It really doesn't matter what your primary method for generating traffic and generating leads is, YouTube is going to help. Think about it like this. If you're generating traffic from another source, let's just say, cold outreach or ads, what is the first thing that somebody is going to do when they see your ad or they see your email and they think, you know what, I'm interested in this, but I don't know if I trust the person? Well, they are going to Google you, right? And what is going to happen if you have a YouTube channel? The YouTube channel is going to show up on top, because guess who owns YouTube? Google. Google owns YouTube, and they want videos to show up on top. Now, speaking of Google, there is this rule called the 7-11-4 rule, which basically means that the average consumer is going to consume 7 hours worth of content before making a buying decision. And it's pretty difficult to get somebody to consume 7 hours worth of content if you don't have long form content, right? So if you just have shorts or you just have like a LinkedIn, people are probably spending like 10 to 30 seconds interacting with your brand. But if you have long form YouTube videos, it's very easy for them to get to that 7 hours. And when they see your paid ad and they look you up on Google, or they see your email, they look you up on Google, or in your email, even better yet, you actually just have a link to your YouTube channel, that is going to cause them to actually get into your ecosystem, and they're going to start watching videos on YouTube, and then they're going to get recommended the videos again and again and again until they end up buying. Right? And the reason they buy is because they know, like, and trust you, because you made helpful videos for them. Now, we're going to get into here in a moment how to make helpful videos without spending a lot of time, effort, or money. But the point is, you made helpful videos for them that actually solve their problems. You demonstrated your expertise and your authority, and therefore they know, like, and most importantly, trust you. And then the coolest thing is, once people start interacting with your brand and interacting with your YouTube channel, whether they came from ads or they didn't come from ads, they're then much more likely to buy from you because they're considered a warm audience, and you can go ahead and just retarget them with ads either way. So I've generated $10 million from YouTube myself, but you might be thinking, Shane, I get it. I totally know the value of YouTube. I've seen person after person, I've seen business owner after business owner have a ton of success on YouTube. The problem is it just takes too long. How in the world can I do YouTube when it's basically a full-time job?
What's happening, guys? Quick break. This week, we are hosting a free one-time live workshop, and I want you to join me at my apartment here, and we will be doing a live training. And it's called How to Finally Make Money from YouTube.com in 2026. Now, if you're watching this in the future, check the link in the description, the pinned comment below to see if we're still doing the training. You know, it's a limited time, but we may still be doing it. So definitely check that link. If not, we'll have some free training for you. So click the link anyways. And for everyone who shows up live, we're giving away the newest version of the Niche Validator Pro that's going to help you find your niche or help you dial in your niche if you already have one. But yeah, you will be able to interact directly with me. I'm going to be answering questions on how you can grow a YouTube channel just like I did. I'm going to be telling my backstory about exactly how I did it, giving details that I don't give anywhere else, and basically telling my story and telling you guys exactly how you can do it as well. So if that's something that's interested to you, I know a lot of people message me all the time about growing on YouTube, growing their personal brand, basically starting an online business, which I think YouTube actually pairs with literally any other online business you want to start. And I show you exactly how that works. So again, click the link in the description below. Attend the online training. It's just 1 hour. It'll be the most valuable hour that you spend this entire year. So don't miss out on it. Click that link and I'll see you there.
The number 2 strategy is to make boring, basic videos. This is what you need to do. You need to make boring, basic videos. And there's really only one thing that these videos need to accomplish, and that is they solve problems for your clients. Okay, or your prospective clients, your prospects. That's it. You need to help them solve problems. You need to give value to them by alleviating the pain that they're feeling from different problems that they're having. People, especially sophisticated buyers, do not care about fancy editing. They do not care that you spent a bunch of time, making a script and then uploading it onto a teleprompter and then sounding like a robot. They do not care how much time you spent making the absolute best set in the world and how much time you spent on your production quality for your video. All they care is, does your video solve the problems that they have? That's it. And one thing I always want to say here is, do not try to get views, okay? This is incorrect. Do not do this. Do not do this, right? This is bad. Here's what you should do instead. Get the right views, right? Optimize for the right views. Because if you get 1 million views and 0 people could actually be your clients, right? Out of those million views, 0 of them are ever going to be your client or see you as a potential person that they would spend money with, then you basically just wasted your time. But if you get 1,000 views, and 10% of those people could potentially be clients, then look at that. You just got 100 really solid leads. And a lot of people don't believe me when I say this, right? A lot of people, for some reason, they're just kind of skeptical. It sounds too good to be true. But just as an example, my client Carla just the other day messaged me and said that she closed a $100,000 contract with a 1.5 thousand subscriber channel. So if you don't think that this is true, I'm telling you right now, it is. And it's only getting more and more that way, right? YouTube is optimizing more and more for serving their audience better. So they're showing more and more niche content to their audiences, content that really serves them on a deep level, rather than content that just goes really broad and helps a ton of people a tiny little bit. And a lot of people don't believe me when I tell them to make these boring, basic videos, but I'm telling you right now, we track all of the revenue on our channel, okay? We track everything. And the videos that perform the best almost always are the ones that are basic. They have minimalist editing, right? They're the ones where I did not spend a lot of time scripting, so basic scripting. And they're the ones where I just drop the most value, AKA I solve problems. Those are the videos that perform the best when it comes to the revenue per 1,000 views, which is one of the main metrics that we track. And the thing is, you can easily make about 10 boring videos, boring basic videos, in the same amount of time that it would take you to make one highly edited video. And the thing that makes the biggest difference on YouTube more than anything else is the idea, okay? And so if you have a good idea, your video can be super basic, right? In many cases, it can actually be bad and the video is still going to perform well. Whereas if you have a bad idea, your video can be incredibly well edited, everything can be perfect, and your video is probably going to perform terribly. So knowing this, you should be optimizing everything around finding the good ideas as fast as possible. And once you find the ideas that people actually care about, of course, you want to make more videos on them. Now, at some point in the future, after you've made a bunch of boring, basic videos and you're kind of getting bored with that, and you kind of want to upgrade your set and you want to edit a little bit more and you want to experiment a little bit more, I totally get it. That's totally fine. I do it myself. You know, I have a fairly nice set now. I have a fairly nice camera now, but just know that that doesn't make that much of a difference. That's more of a brand play just to make your brand stand out from other people's. But when you're first growing, that's not what you should do. That's optimization. You don't want to optimize something that hasn't even proven that it works yet. That's like polishing a turd. That's like putting salt and pepper on a rotten egg. It's not going to help. And this brings me to the next point. This is the third strategy, what I like to call yap maxing, okay? So this is basically where conversations that you would have had with friends, entrepreneur buddies, people in your company, etc., you have these types of conversations on camera, okay? So you do these on camera instead of doing them in private. Now, one thing I'll say is it's probably very easy if somebody on your team asks you a question, right? If somebody on your team asks you a question and it's, you know, maybe a question that came from a client, or maybe a client on a call, on a Zoom call or a phone call, etc., asks you a question, or maybe one of your friends asks you a question and then, you know, you send a Loom video to them answering it. It's super easy to talk, right? You could do it all day long. In fact, you know, you might be at a dinner party, you might be hanging out with friends and you can just talk for 12 hours straight. There's certain friends you can just talk to all day long and you don't get tired. But for some reason, when it comes to recording videos, you get fatigued, you get tired very quickly. Why is this? Well, I'm telling you right now that most of it is mental, okay? Most of it is all in your head. It's 90% worrying about doing the thing and 10% of the actual thing that's causing you to be tired, right? For some reason, you worry about how you're saying something or how you're coming off, or you're not saying the perfect words or something along those lines. Whereas if, you know, again, one of your friends asked you, or one of your clients, or, you know, somebody at your company, etc., asked you the same exact question, you would be able to just fluently answer them. But the fact that there's a camera on you makes you a little bit nervous and you're not able to answer nearly as well. And this is really fatiguing, right? It really makes you tired after a while. And again, remember back to this analogy. If you were just talking to a good friend of yours who, you know, you talk about business with, like an entrepreneur buddy or maybe somebody on your team or a friend or whatever, you could easily talk to them for like 12 hours straight. You could talk to them all day long and you wouldn't get tired. So why is it that you get tired after 30 minutes of recording? This is why. It's all mental. And this is why, as much as possible, you should try to record stuff live. So these conversations that you'd be having with your friends or other entrepreneurs or people in your company, etc., try to record it live. This is what Hormozy is doing right now, for instance. Almost all of his content on his channel, he actually just records it live in front of a live audience. And that's what makes it so much easier for him to actually present the information. Now, if for whatever reason, let's just say you're in a Zoom call with your team, there's a few things that are confidential, you're not able to really publish that and make it live, that's totally fine. So what you do instead is, I like to call that a yap session. Okay, so I call it a yap session. And when I realize that I'm dropping something that would be really valuable for other people to hear, I will take that clip, and it's really easy to get that if you're just using something like Fathom, for instance, that automatically records your Zoom calls. But I will take that clip and then I'll put it into AI. And then I'll have AI summarize all the most important points and make a script for me and an outline. And then I'll go ahead and go record that again. And usually I can remember most of it off the top of my head because I already said it. So it's not that hard to actually just say it again, but we'll have AI go ahead and make a script. And of course, if you have the right systems and processes, you can just make the script a little bit better. And that is how it's done. So one other thing I'll say about this is, for a lot of our extremely busy clients, the way they make content is either one time per month or 2 times per month, like once every 2 weeks, they will get interviewed, right? So they'll get interviewed in usually about a 1-hour session or so, and people will literally just ask them questions, okay? They'll ask them questions, and then the person will answer those questions. That is then either made into content, depending on what they want to do, depending on what their setup is, or it's used as a yap session, turned into a script, and then recorded later on. So again, the power of yap maxing, the power of just talking and just answering questions and pretending like you're not being recorded on camera and then just uploading that stuff to YouTube is so powerful. I could honestly go on and on about this as well, because the truth is it comes across so much better as well when you're just saying stuff naturally, right? If you're using a teleprompter, which don't get me wrong, I don't have any problem with a teleprompter. I have one in front of me right now. I'm not really using it, but I don't have any problem with a teleprompter. But most people, when they read off of a teleprompter, it's quite obvious that they're doing it, right? Even if you're pretty good at it, you've practiced a lot, it's still relatively easy for other people to tell that you're reading off of a teleprompter. However, if you do the yap maxing, it comes across so much more natural, and this builds more, guess what it is? Trust. It builds more trust. It makes you seem more authoritative. It makes you seem more authentic, etc., etc. And this is a subject that I could go extremely deep on, but I think you get the point. All right, so the next strategy is to go deep first, then go wide. Okay? And what I mean by this is you want to start niche. Okay, you want to start by helping a very specific client demographic. And what I always like to say when we're doing this is you either help your ideal client, so the person who it's just easiest for you to get results for, or you want to help somebody who's the easiest to sell and the easiest person to generate the most revenue. So it really depends on if you're optimizing for making money up front, aka the easiest person to sell or the person who generates the most revenue, or if you're optimizing for LTV, right? Optimizing for the person who's going to end up making you the most money in the long run. Because if they're really easy to get results for, you're going to get them results, you're going to get lots of testimonials, that's going to get you more clients, etc., etc. It's kind of like a snowball effect. So what I always say is you really want to get this statement down. I help X do Y by Z, okay? X is the market, Y is the problem they have, so it's either do Y or overcome Y, and Z is your solution. Okay, so I help X do Y by Z. This is the niche hypothesis statement, okay? That's what I call it, niche hypothesis statement. And you really want to stick with this at first. So the example of this is, you can look at almost any successful YouTuber. Basically, what you want to do is you want to be the king of a puddle, then the king of a pond, then a lake, then a sea, then the ocean. You want to do it in that order. Be the king of a puddle. Be the best at serving someone in a very specific niche, then a pond, then the lake, then the sea, then the ocean. And there's so many reasons to start niche as well. I could go on and on about this, but one of the biggest ones is it's much easier for you to establish your authority when you start niche. Just as an example, when Alex Hormozi first started, he was helping gym owners with their sales and their marketing, aka he helped gym owners get more clients, right? And it was very easy for him to establish his authority there because he'd had so much success helping gym owners get more clients. But then he expanded to brick and mortar businesses and then to all different types of service businesses, whether they were online or not. And now he basically just serves all different types of businesses in the world. But it would have been exceptionally difficult if he tried to do that at first. Starting off as the king of a puddle is the most important thing. Go deep first, then go wide. And this brings us into the next strategy, which is number 5, optimize. Not for getting the most views, okay? Optimize for getting the most views? No, not the most views. Optimize for getting the right views, right? That's what you want to do. So again, if you get 1 million views and you have 0 potential clients, that is not nearly as good as getting 1,000 views and having 50 potential clients. But guess what? That's not as good as getting 100,000 views and having 500 potential clients. So obviously you want to optimize for the right views, right? These people, getting as many of these people as possible who could potentially be clients, right? They're really good prospects. That's what you want to optimize for. So if that means getting 100,000 views per video, then get 100,000 views per video. If that means getting 1,000 views per video, then get 1,000 views per video. And in very rare cases, if that means getting 1,000,000 views per video, then get 1,000,000 views per video. But I can almost promise you that is very rare. Usually the videos that do the best are going to be videos that get low views or medium amount of views. If you don't believe me, just look at what Alex Hormozi recently said in this video when talking about his highlights channel. He talked about how there was more attributable revenue coming from this highlights channel that has about 72,000 subscribers than his main channel that has over 4 million subscribers. So this highlights channel that gets like 1,000 views per video or 1.9K views per video or 16,000 at most is getting more attributable revenue than his main channel that gets millions of views, right? 37,000, 40,000, 150,000, 125,000, 408,000, 641,000. And he's had many videos on this channel that have gotten millions of views. What does that tell you? Well, it's not about how many views you get, it's how many of the right views that you get. And if you think about this, it's pretty simple math. Think about the general practitioner doctor versus the brain surgeon. The general practitioner doctor might see 100 people in a day and they helps them a tiny little bit. Let's just say 1, right? 1 unit of help. And that equals 100 total units of value. The brain surgeon might only see 1 person per day, but they save that person's life, AKA 1,000, right? Because let's just say like saving somebody's life, that's pretty big value, right? So that's 1,000 total units of value. When you're making niche content and when you're optimizing for getting the right views, that is what you're doing. You're giving 1,000 total units of value rather than helping a ton of people, but helping all of them a tiny little bit and giving less overall value. And that's exactly what Hormozi was talking about on this channel. He talked about how now the YouTube algorithm is optimizing for going deeper and giving the right type of person the right type of value rather than kind of making mass market content that helps a bunch of people but helps them a tiny little bit. So you want to optimize for getting the right views. Now, if you want to learn more about how we do this, we do have a live training that we're doing this week. That live training will definitely be valuable. We'll also be giving away an AI that helps you, and I'll be answering any questions that you have at the end of the live training. With that being said, if you are a business owner that wants to grow and make money on YouTube, or use it to grow your brand, or use it to get leads, or use it to help your other marketing efforts be even better, or if you're a YouTuber who's crushing it and you want to crush it even harder, you're a YouTuber who's getting a lot of views, but you're struggling with monetization, or you're someone who is just business minded and you really want to treat YouTube like a business, then go ahead and book a call by clicking the second link in the description and the pinned comment below. Do not book this call unless you're very serious about growing and making money on YouTube. In this call, we will give you done for you and done with you options. So the done with you options are where we do part of the work for you and then we kind of teach you the rest, kind of like a build and release offer. And the done for you options are pretty self-explanatory. We just do the work for you. So if that sounds interesting to you, if you're a business owner, someone who's very serious about growing and making money on YouTube, click the second link in the description and the pinned comment below. And also check out this video right here of us helping our client Thomas, who was able to streamline his entire operations and get to over $10 million a year.